Hey everybody, happy Friday. It's JJ again, and we're getting ready to kick off another ASUS PCDIY hardware live stream. So thanks so much if you're joining us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, or in our ASUS PCDIY Facebook group. So hopefully everybody's week is winding out on a positive and productive footing, and hopefully you guys are getting ready to have a great weekend. We've got a couple of new product announcements, some product availability updates, some recaps on some few items that have been of interest in terms of some new product announcements that we'll go ahead and dive into. And of course, we're going to be highlighting your builds in the ASUS PCDIY Builder Spotlight. We've got some fantastic builds ranging from some really cool and interesting kind of traditional AIO-based systems, ATX-based systems, and then we're going to go on the kind of the whole other end of the spectrum with some really amazing customized mod-based builds, which just are absolutely stunning in terms of kind of their craftsmanship and their creativity, and definitely one of my absolute favorite builds that I've seen in the last few years in terms of just a really beautiful use of our small form factor motherboard in a really creative approach that I'm really excited to talk about in the ASUS PCDIY Builder Spotlight. So, hey, Z590 Geekbench guy, happy to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us on the stream, Raphael. Thanks so much for joining us. Erica, fantastic as always. Thank you so much for joining us here on the stream. Hey, Snap Man, fantastic. Thanks for joining us on the stream as always, man. Great to have you here. And Juan, hey, happy to have you on the stream as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get ready to jump into a few things here. In terms of the stream, just kind of general first and foremost, we're going to talk quickly about a couple of the UEFI BIOS release announcements. I haven't posted them yet today in the ASUS PCDIY group, but I'll be posting them up a little bit later today. Not a huge number of updates. This is actually going to be following up to last week's stream update, so that if you've got one of the newer Z690 series motherboards, we have been releasing essentially some new updates over the last couple of weeks. And the last set of updates specifically are going to be a little bit more important and to keep in mind because they're going to include a few items. There's going to be new Intel Management Engine firmware, which is important in terms of security and kind of performance and just a number of different kind of aspects in terms of the way the motherboard works in relation to the CPU. There can potentially be other supplemental firmware that's also present. So you want to make sure to not only flash the UEFI, but there may be also additional supplemental tools that you'll have to patch in. So let me go ahead and actually show you what this looks like. Let me bring it up on, I think probably TUF Gaming. We'll do TUF Gaming C690. I think should probably have this update. Last week, I think I showed you guys the ROG board. The ROG boards even have some more features. So there's even actually some additional updates that were present, including I believe it was the USB PD protocol firmware that was also applicable there. So just a couple of things. So let's go ahead and show you what this looks like. So if we head over here to our support site, we're now currently on the support site for the TUF Gaming Z690 Plus Wi-Fi board. You'll see right here that in the actual release notes, it does give you some additional information in regards to some of the other update information that's relevant to you. So it's not just, of course, a general UEFI update. You're going to see right here that there's this USB PD firmware, which is also going to get updated. There's an update for the Intel Management Engine firmware, right? Then there's also this optional, of course, Thunderbolt firmware update, right? And so when you have kind of these broader scale UEFI updates, it's also important to keep in mind that the update process will probably take quite a bit longer than it normally would. There might even be multiple reboots. Traditionally, I'd say a basic UEFI update is probably going to be somewhere between maybe about 2 minutes or so approximately, but with some of these bigger updates, sometimes it can definitely take a few minutes and a few reboots. So just keep that in mind. Overall, not super critical. Again, if your system is running stable and reliable without any issues, you don't have to worry about this. But if you are going to be putting together a system, just make sure to go ahead and flash to this latest UEFI to be able to get the best overall experience from your system. Okay, and there are going to be a couple of other kind of, I'd say, mature-based motherboards that had a couple updates that have been released that you'll see in the actual post in the PCDIY group, but otherwise, nothing too much of note there. Let me go ahead and link the group in the chat for you for those that are not part of our PCDIY group. And if you're interested in essentially just being able to check out the featured section where I make the corresponding announcements, generally those goes up on Fridays, then you guys can check it out there. Let me see if here we got. All right, fantastic. Okay, so I think that covers us in terms of our UEFI BIOS updates. And let me see if we got any questions there. Hey, Bluegate, thanks for joining us here on the stream. Thank you so much. The one other note that I'm going to go ahead and give, just in relation to kind of Z690, since we're talking about a little bit, because I've seen some kind of confusion and some discussion regarding people that are getting essentially Z690 series motherboards. They're getting their DDR5 and they're thinking that there's kind of XMP profiling issues, or there might be issues with 4 DIMMs. The really important thing you have to kind of understand is that when you talk about memory overclocking, so you're using memory once you install the memory. Most of the memory kits that you're going to probably be purchasing are going to have an XMP profile. The XMP profile will define the frequency, the timing, and the voltage for the memory. And in most situations, it's also going to define an overclocked frequency. It's not going to generally define a base operating frequency that the platform is designed for. In the case of Z690, the base frequency essentially is 4,800 megahertz, but you can very easily actually run much higher frequencies, 5,600, 6,000 megahertz, and even actually for some IMCs higher than that. Now, why do I say some IMCs? Well, inside of the actual CPU, there's a portion that is called the IMC, the memory controller. And the memory controller is actually what helps to define the scaling, the level that your actually memory can go up to. Now, there's always going to be, I'd say, a certain percentage of essentially CPUs in terms of their respective memory controller where you can almost kind of guarantee a certain level of overclocking headroom. What we generally see that for Z690 and for 12th gen series CPUs currently is generally up to about around 6,000 megahertz in 2 DIMM configurations. That generally means that if you bought a 12600K, 12700K, 12900K, you put it in, and then you had like a 6,000 megahertz kit of memory, you're generally going to probably be able to reach that, even though it's an overclocked frequency. But critically, there are a few things to keep in mind. One, density and rank affect this. So density, is ultimately how much memory is it? Is it a 2 by 8 gigabyte kit, which is generally going to be the best in terms of frequency, or is it going to be a 2 by 16, or is it going to be a 2 by 32 gig kit? The higher that you go in terms of that, even if you're talking about 2 DIMM, you're going to actually lower the actual frequency potential. This is not a fault of the motherboard. It's not a fault of anything. It's just the inherent complexity that when you're essentially trying to drive something at a higher frequency and a higher density configuration, it's more challenging. This also applies even more so when you go to not only 2 DIMMs, but you go to 4 DIMMs. And the same thing that I talked about in the beginning, where you have to account for not only the number of DIMMs, so 4 DIMMs, you still have to account for density and you have to account for rank. So are we talking 4/8 gigabyte DIMMs? Are we talking 4/16? Are we talking 4/32 gigabyte DIMMs? That all affects it. And definitely under a 4 DIMM configuration, you're generally going to see far more of a limitation, usually somewhere around probably 4,000 to about 4,400 megahertz. Some of the better IMCs might get a little bit more, maybe up to about 4,800 megahertz or so. But we'll be making a little bit more of a deep dive kind of explainer video to be able to provide kind of specific insights in terms of understanding this. And this is not just specific to DDR5. Actually, if anything, the maturity that we're seeing actually out of DDR5 as a platform is actually very strong. It's maybe the best overall maturity of a new memory standard that I've seen ever. And I've been in the industry for just about 20 years. So it's pretty awesome to see that. But if you guys have more questions on that, feel free to check out the PCDIY group. I've actually done quite a number of posts that already explain this fairly in depth, but we'll have a video in the not too distant future coming out to hopefully cover anybody that might be wondering about that. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of quick recap in terms of that regard. Hey, Dead BC77, happy to have you here on the stream, man. And Connor, happy to have you here as well, and along with Andrew. Andrew, feel free, if you have a question, feel free to go ahead and post, and I'll try to go ahead and get to it if I can. So next thing up, let's go ahead and jump into, I think, some availability and release updates. But we also have actually, I think, one ongoing kind of giveaway announcement that I want to go ahead and make sure and note on that I think one of my team members let us know about that we talked about last week. And that was going to be, I believe, yes, we actually partnered up with Linus to offer essentially an opportunity for you to be able to win one of our TUF Gaming series monitors, specifically our latest HDMI 2.1 high refresh rate gaming monitor. And essentially all you need to do is to enter is to retweet and also ideally drop in a meme. So I will go ahead and drop in the actual link in the chat that allows you to go ahead and download this, to create the meme, and then go ahead and share it out socially, and that'll allow you to go ahead and be entered in for this contest. And so the other really cool thing about this contest too is that it is an international based contest. So you don't just have to be in the United States or Canada. Normally, a lot of the giveaways we do, as we are ASUS North America, so we're based out of the United States, are generally going to be limited to the United States and Canada. But for this giveaway, it is going to be worldwide. So wherever you might be, take advantage of it and enter in to be able to win an awesome TUF Gaming VG28UQ L1A. It's a really great monitor, whether you're talking about color accuracy, the response time, the refresh rate, and of course the flexibility to be able to have that HDMI 2.1 for that full bandwidth is also going to be great as well. So this is all you need to do. I will go ahead and drop this link into the chat there for you guys. And I will also drop the link for those that want to be able to go ahead and get the meme backgrounds that are needed. Hey, Zach, thanks for joining us here on the stream. So give me 1 second, and I will also make sure to get you guys this link here. All right, great. So we've got that for you guys as well. Okay, very good. So next up, let's go ahead and, like I said, talk about a couple about some availability and kind of release updates. So first and foremost, we gave you guys kind of pretty much the first look opportunity last week at the Flare 2, where we did go ahead and list that in our ASUS eStore. It has pretty much been sold out, but we've been working with our internal logistics team to go ahead and try to restock this as quickly as possible. So if you guys want to be on it, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link specifically for the reds and the blues on the actual in the chat, so that if you guys are interested in checking it out, you guys can pick up this keyboard. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, let's go ahead and actually show you the Flare 2. It's tough because I'm a big fan of the Claymore 2, and I think the Claymore 2 might edge it out for me just because I love the ability to go from a traditional kind of TKL to a non-TKL when you need to be able to take the numpad, and it has, of course, wired and wireless functionality, but the Flare 2 is a fantastic keyboard. So this is what we're talking about here with the new Flare 2 keyboard. This is going to be utilizing 8,000 hertz polling. It's going to have the enemy matrix display in here, which you can have with visualizations. You can have a stat panel. You can have a music visualizer on there. This also features our ROG NX switches, which we're going to initially offer in the reds and the blues, and then later on the reds and the browns, and then later on we will have the blues. But this does also feature our first PCB board design that is hot swappable. So if you want to customize that, you can. You'll also see a pretty cool design right here with the diffused light bar, which is actually present with either removing the magnetic wrist rest. You get a diffused light bar on the keyboard directly, as well as actually getting it even if you put on the wrist rest, which is really cool. And then of course your tactile media keys that are on here, and then you've got the full N key rollover. So really, really sweet in that regard. That is going to be the Flare 2, and I will go ahead and give you guys the links here if you guys are interested in checking it out. So let me go ahead and get the link up here for it. And I think hopefully we'll have it up maybe by the middle of next week or so. This is always a little bit variable in terms of kind of how long it can take us to get a couple of those things kind of skewed in or listed in, but it should be hopefully pretty quick. So let me see here if I can, where do I have the link for that? Oh, here we go. Okay. All right. So we've got the link here. This will be for the reds, and this will be the link for the browns. So either which one. And of course, the reds are going to be a little bit more if you're somebody that has a preference for that kind of really smooth, linear type of experience. And if you're looking for a little bit more of that tactile bump, then of course, you're going to want to favor the browns. So those are going to be the links respectively for the two keyboards right there. And you will be good to go. And I think I've also got, do I have it right here? If I have it right here, I'll go ahead and show you guys. I think I've got actually got a cool little kind of promo video that you can kind of see the cool kind of features right here of the Flare 2. And so here you'll see, of course, That's the Anime Matrix display, which is the same type of display that we've been incorporating on things like our laptops as well as on our motherboards. You can see, of course, that integrated light diffuser, which is really cool. That 8,000 hertz polling rate, which of course is complementary to our upcoming Chakram X, the USB pass-through support as well. You've got onboard profile memory, sound dampening foam to reduce pinging and to be able to give it a nice kind of little bit of a kind of acoustic kind of depth to it. The hot swappable switch design, although we've got these really great RGNX switches. And one of the really great about the RGNX switches is actually they're kind of binned for consistency between each individual switch, which allows them to have a far more consistent force actuation experience between each one of the switches, wherever you're going to be hitting essentially the keys across the keyboard. So that is going to be the Flare 2. And for those of you wondering about when is the other Flare 2, the one without the Anime Matrix display, going to be coming out, that'll be coming out, of course, a bit later on. And once we get a little bit closer to that announcement, we will make sure to go ahead and post that in the group and also talk about it here on the stream. Okay, next up, I've got, I know, a very big announcement and one that a lot of people have been asking me continually about. And if you're part of the group, I went ahead and did drop some information in the group today about it. So let me go ahead and get this guy up here, but it's going to be for the Thor 2. So we formally are going to get ready to launch now, finally, the Thor 2 after now it's a initial announcement. The first model will be the 1000 watt series PSU. Overall timeline is probably going to be somewhere in the next couple of weeks, hopefully by the end of February, you should start seeing it essentially pop up in terms of retailers. The MSRP for this model is going to be coming in at $359. And then for some that have asked, is this essentially going to support the 12-pin PCI Gen 5 connection, which will support up to that 450 watts, I believe. In terms of power, yes, it will offer that along with all the other course feature improvements. So this is essentially the updated version. Still has the screen. It still has the Aura addressable header that's on there. And it also, of course, has the ASUS Aura Sync RGB lighting sync support on there. So it's a fantastic high performance based PSU. There's going to be a total of four Thor power supplies that are released. First, it'll be the 1000 watt. Then the next, the 1200 watt, next the 1600 watt, and then last will be the 850 watt. As we move towards the end of Q1, we will hopefully see that 1200 watt. And then as we're moving into Q2, so generally, you know, after March, right, as we're going into April, probably going to be start looking at, like I said, that 1600 watt to 850 watt as we get into Q2 timeframe. Okay. So of course, this is a fully modular based PSU. You can see right there, that's the actual addressable header connection, which would interface with the board if you want to take advantage of the ASUS Aura Sync lighting and you're using it with the chassis, which has an exposed PSU shroud. You cannot customize this wattage display. It is a full readout wattage display that works in real time. So it will go ahead and display to you in real time whatever the wattage is for your system. And here's just a little bit of a shot. You can see how it looks installed inside. The cables, if you don't notice, are actually already individually sleeved. So they are very nice quality cables that already come included inside the box. Okay. So that will be the Thor 2. And I think actually I might also have a little video there. And let me go ahead and double check and see if I've got any questions from anybody. And we'll go ahead and we'll jump into that. This is a promo video for the 850, but overall, in terms of the design aspects, you're going to pretty much be having a similar overall kind of feature set and functionality to the benefits. And the big thing that you're going to see there is, of course, the Platinum certification support, the internal heatsink design, which is a really big focus on not only current Thor power supplies and RG Strix power supplies, where we focus on the efficiency and the thermal performance. Of course, you're getting the 0 dB operating mode, you're getting the Axial Tech fan, the OLED panel, of course, the addressable RGB lighting support, and that fully modular design, right? And all these models, of course, also, I believe, will be coming with a 10-year warranty. So extensive warranty. And again, this one will be coming in at $359, and hopefully you should be seeing it pop online by about the end of the month. Wow, lots of comments right there. So let's see what we got right there. Loki ETA, no update on the Loki ETA. So for you guys that are wondering, that's our SFX-based power supply. Definitely rest assured, as soon as we have an availability update for that, it'll be posted in the group. And also, if you're looking for kind of a more consistent update, always check the product release calendar, which should be updated hopefully by Monday of next week, and it is posted inside the group, and it's a great option for people that are in our group to be able to take advantage of finding out when products are going to be coming out that we've announced but yet have not released yet. Hey, Evo7, thanks to have you here. Very cool. Looks like any other questions I can see right there? All right. Okay, very, very cool. Hey, Mod. Hey, Mods by Ben. Happy to have you here, man. Thanks for joining us on the stream as well. All right. Hey, Brian, no updates I can provide to you in relation to that. But, as always, if there are any updates, rest assured that they will be posted in, of course, the PCDIY group for any forthcoming UEFI releases. The updates that I post are comprehensive, so they include both Intel and AMD-based motherboards. Right now, most of the updates that we're releasing for AMD motherboards are essentially a continuation of the AGISA 1.2.05 release, which has started to roll out on first our X570, and I think all of our Crosshair series boards have now received that update. But again, if you're looking for updates in relation to that, then just monitor the channels, and as soon as there are any updates, if applicable to your boards, you'll see that. There's also a post that I have that goes into more depth and insight regarding kind of the timeline that most boards tend to see in terms of kind of their relative maturity cycle and when you tend to stop to see UEFI releases, if that's something that you're interested in. Okay. All right. Very, very cool. So that gets us out of the way there. Next up, I've got one other update here, which is going to be for another product that will be coming out in not too distant future. And that's going to be for the, did I actually get this one? Make sure. I don't know if I actually got this one covered in here. I might need to see if I can quickly pull down the file for this one. So give me 1 second. But that is going to be for the TUF Gaming B550 Pro. So this will be, I think, a really solid option for those of you that are going to be looking for something that's going to be a little bit more priced aggressively, but looking to be able to drop in a Ryzen series processor and still be able to kind of have all the key core specifications that you would want within a board, but not necessarily without going too expensive in terms of the overall price point, right? You're still not going to be limiting overclocking, still going to have great DRAM tuning. You still got all the kind of key specifications you could want, 2.5 gigabit LAN, our ASUS noise canceling, ARGB support. It's pretty much all going to be there. Let's go ahead and take a closer look here. So it will be for this board, I believe, yeah. This board will be coming in at $209 in terms of the MSRP. So you've got large, robust heat sinks. You can see that you've got 2 heat sinks right here for dual M.2 based SSDs if you want to put on that. This board will have a front USB-C header, which is great for especially the newer chassis that are out there that do incorporate that. You are going to have multiple ARGB headers that are going to be on this board. And of course, you can put a splitter on there if you want to be able to attach more ARGB-based devices. Of course, DDR4 support is going to be prevalent across on all standard B550 as well as X570 based boards. Taking a look here at the connectivity, right? You've got the USB BIOS flashback, although that won't be needed because these boards are going to ship out of the box ready with all Ryzen 5000 series CPU support. That 2.5 gigabit Ethernet support that I noted right there is going to be present right there, along with USB 3.Gen 2, both Type A and Type C. So you're going to have rear Type C, and you're also going to have internal Type C support on both these. QLED for quick diagnostics, and of course, our isolated audio design, and even the optional Thunderbolt header there. So if you want to be able to have Thunderbolt on the board, you'll be good to go. So this board will be coming in at, like I said, 210. Very solid offering in terms of kind of giving you, I think, all the kind of key specifications, but without necessarily going to maybe more of the specialized features or functions that we might have on ROG class series of motherboards that are, of course, going to be a bit more expensive. So great offering. I would expect that you probably see this show up online in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, again, by the end of February. Okay. So that will be the TUF Gaming B550 Pro. And then I think we've got one other update right here that I want to go ahead and touch on. So give me 1 second. And see if I can bring it up here. For, I believe, a Prime board. For those, again, that are also going to be checking out anything in relation to a Z690. If you are interested in getting in on a Z690 base build, 12th gen series CPU, we do currently have the Prime Z690-P Wi-Fi. This is probably one of my favorite boards that we have in the entire lineup because it's a great board for the price. It's right now got a $20 promo on it. So if you're looking for a clean, white aesthetic themed board, this is going to cover you really well. This is the board specifically right here, and I will drop a link in the chat for you guys to be able to check it out. But you can see right here, it's got this nice, clean, white, stylized aesthetic, silver heat sinks, large and robust VRM design on here. So it definitely doesn't matter whether you're running 12600K, 1200K, 12900K. You're not going to have any issues in terms of that. Of course, with DDR4 support, you can readily be able to get that memory right now and be able to have a great experience with 12th Gen Series 12th Gen Series CPUs, and you're going to have PCI Gen 5 support for the future, although not for M.2. But speaking of M.2, you're still going to have 3 M.2 slots on this board, isolated audio design. The model that's actually on promo right now is the Wi-Fi model, so you will get Wi-Fi 6 along with the 2.5 gigabit LAN, and you get rear Type-C and front Type-C. So let me actually select the right one right here. It's this one right here, and you will see that you'll have a little promo right here, $20 off. So if you're looking for a nice little discount on this board, that's pretty solid. It's going to come out to, you know, a pretty reasonable price point right there. You pair that up with something like a 12600K, even a 12400K, and you're really talking about an outstanding level of gaming performance, regardless of whatever you're going to be targeting. 1080p, ultra high refresh rate, 1440p, 4K gaming, it doesn't matter. Just drop in the GPU that you're going to want for your respective build, and you've got a great foundation, and you're not really losing any kind of key feature or compromising on stability, functionality, or reliability. So I think this is a really solid choice for you guys if you're looking for something a little bit more on a budget. Okay. So let me go ahead and drop that in there and see if we got any other questions. Hey, Joel, as of right now, no plans for any ROG RGB cables, but you never know. Right now, our product design team has been working on definitely some updated RGB product accessories. So one of the most recent ones that we've shown off is the RGB Herculex and Wing Wall, which are, of course, graphics card brackets or braces. So that's one accessory. We are working on design and development of a possible next generation RGB controller. Of course, we are looking at the design and development of ROG fans and a couple of other kind of different types of items, but nothing on the cable side. But we definitely, you know, we'll continue to monitor feedback from the community. I think there are definitely some areas that kind of improve upon the experience. So you never know. Hey, Payne, no plans for a Ryujin 280. Right now, the Ryujin 280, excuse me, the Ryujin will be limited to 240, 360. We'll have it in the standard Noctua edition, and then we also will be coming out with an ARBA edition, but no 280. If you want 280, take a look at the ROG Strix LC2, which comes in a 280 millimeter version. If you're looking for an PSU without any lighting, we already make it. It's going to be the TUF Gaming Series PSUs or the ROG Strix PSUs. The ROG Strix PSUs don't have any screen nor lighting on there, but they offer a really clean, stylized aesthetic. But you're also still going to get those number of nice upgrades that we have, including the Axial Tech fan design, the improved power topology design, along with the heat sinks. So you still get a really, really nice PSU, but with no RGB lighting. I can go ahead and show you an example of what that one looks like if you guys want to see it right here. Let's see if I can bring that up. And this is the same model that we actually offer in both white and black. And it does even come with customizable decals, so you can actually kind of change it up right here. So this is the actual ROG Strix. It comes in different wattages, I think all the way down to 650 watt up to 1000 watt. So if you're looking for something that doesn't require a screen or doesn't take advantage of course, having the screen, then take a look at the ROG Strix series of PSUs. Okay. All right. Hey, Zach, on the pinouts, I'll have to go ahead and double check on that for you. Okay. TUF Gaming Pro, that model will not have integrated Wi-Fi 6. We do have optional models within the TUF Gaming lineup that generally offer Wi-Fi. So all you need to do is look for the corresponding model that has it. We do have the TUF Gaming B550 Plus Wi-Fi, which is a great board outside of the Pro as well. And so if you want Wi-Fi, I would take a look at that model. And that model is already right now available. Hey, Aaron. Yeah, fantastic. The X570 Plus has been a long time stalwart. Actually, for a lot of people, they've absolutely loved that board. We've actually refreshed it. We came out with the version 2 because one of the only things that didn't have originally at the time, which there wasn't many chassis that had an internal USB Type-C header, but we did upgrade it to offer essentially a model with the TUF Gaming X570 Pro and then also the TUF Gaming X570 Pro 2, which is also available. So that whole TUF Gaming X570 lineup, great series of boards, especially again if you're looking for a little bit more of aggressively priced board, but you want the benefits of the X570 chipset. Hey, Jeremy. For the Canadian side, it's probably still going to be a little bit longer. Right now, it's always a little bit of a delay in terms of Canada for logistics timeline. The Flare 2 is not even yet available in the US. So keep in mind that there's the Flare 2 and there's the Flare 2 Animate. So the Flare 2 Animate is what's currently launching right now in the United States. It'll be coming a little bit more available a little bit later as we move into Q1 for Canada. As far as for the Flare 2, make sure to keep it tuned for an announcement. And again, once we do have an announcement for that specific model, it will be posted in the group, and I will try to be mindful of that. If you want, always also feel free to go ahead and tag me in the group if you don't see kind of any information or availability notes. Just give it a little bit of time, and you can feel free to tag me, and I'll do my best to go and follow up and get your response in terms of that. Okay. Let me see. Any other questions right there? Okay. Hey, Matthew. Happy to have you here on the stream. Thanks so much for joining us here. I need to find a way to control RGB with So I'm not sure about your question 100% there about Matthew, but when you're talking about ARGB type controls on our motherboards, all of our motherboards support direct control of 3-pin, your 5-volt ARGB based devices that directly plug in the motherboard. Now, if you're looking for, of course, another type of option that is proprietary, so working with a company that uses devices that have to plug into a controller, then you might have to use a controller. An example of that would be Corsair or NZXT. There are manufacturers that their ecosystem requires you to interface into a controller. That controller plugs into a USB port, and that's actually how the RGB is managed and controlled, as opposed to with ASUS, it either kind of natively plugs into the motherboard, like the graphics card or the DRAM, or plugs into a USB port, or it would be something that plugs in directly into the RGB headers. So this is where the devices that you're going to pick for your system allow you to kind of either make it more streamlined and go with a single piece of software for management and control, or you go with like a two-piece type software. And we do have users. If you ask users in our PCDIY Facebook group, there are a number of users that run kind of like ASUS and Corsair ecosystems. This is potentially a little bit more problematic over time because you are running two concurrent pieces of software that have to plug into each other. We do offer limited interoperability and sync support with Corsair IQ as well as with NZXT CAM, but you do have to be cautious because at times when certain updates get released for applications independently, that can sometimes affect the interoperability. But we do work to try to be able to ensure, along with Corsair, respectively, because the updates can come from either side of the applications, to be able to try to maintain that ecosystem. But generally, the easiest ecosystem experience is going to be a one software ecosystem. Okay. All right. So that takes us out in terms of, I think, all our product release availability updates. Let me go ahead and see if I got anything else there that I want to go ahead and touch on. So we talked about our Flare 2 Animate in terms of being back in terms of stock. We got those links for you. Thor 2 availability. There is one more that I did want to go ahead and bring up, and that is going to be our TUF Gaming mouse that we have, our M4 series. So these are two great models that we have with the M4 Air and the M4 wired. So let me go ahead and see if I have these two guys for you here. Yeah, I can show you guys. This is the M4 Air. So this is our new super ultra lightweight mouse. This is going to be coming in at 47 grams and is going to be a great choice if you're looking for something that's extremely lightweight and it's got a clean, simple design. It has also got some nice design elements to be able to ensure durability and reliability. It actually offers a specialized nano coating that we have on the PCB, so it's going to be resistant against any type of spills or humidity, dust, debris ingress on the PCB board. Good quality, actually, switches that are on here as well. And you do even have customizable experience in terms of liftoff distance within the Armor Crate software, onboard profiles, as well as on this unit, and very reasonable price point. This is going to be coming in at $49.99. So it's not an expensive mouse by any stretch. And this is right now available on Amazon. And we also do have a wireless version of this with the M4 Air, with the M4 wireless. So let me see here if I can find the M4 wireless. The M4 wireless right here. So the M4 wireless is going to be very similar. It's going to give you essentially just a essentially open-shelled body design here, but still lightweight. It will vary a little bit in terms of the weight depending on the battery, because the battery can be swapped out. You can either use a AA or a AAA, so either one. But this one is now also available on Amazon. So you can go ahead and pick these up both, and I will go ahead and drop the links in the chat for you guys if you guys are wondering about that, because I know that we announced those a little while back and some people were wondering about, hey, when are they going to be available? So let me go ahead and drop those in there. So yeah, we got TUF Gaming M4 right here. And as always, make sure that if you are picking up something from Amazon, there can sometimes also be third-party resellers, and you are going to want to try to make sure to take advantage of buying directly from Amazon. So ship and sold from Amazon. Other times you'll actually find that if there's third-party e-tailers that might have actually be listing the product, it could be maybe imported, and so they actually might not be adhering to the MSRP pricing, so it could be actually higher than the norm. So let me actually just show you an example of that, guys. So here, if you see, we're on Amazon currently. This is the M4 wireless, and you'll see right here, M4 wireless, but you'll see that it's currently being shipped and sold from Beach Audio. If you scroll a little bit down, you'll actually see there's an option that says ship and sold from Amazon, and they're actually following the MSRP pricing, which is a great price point. It's only $59.99 for this mouse. So you do want to just try to double check on that. And again, if you're interested in the M4 wired, which is the Air version, then that model is also there. And like I said, $10 difference between those two. Okay. All right. So with that, in a little bit, we're going to get ready to jump in here, I think, into the builders, probably spotlight in a little bit. But let me go ahead and just see if you got any questions right here. Hey Joel, so we usually try to give any teasers, when possible. Most of those teasers usually get posted in the group, and usually when there's a teaser, we've done that in the past with things like the Thor, with the Flare 2 Animate. There's nothing right now that I have to tease. As always, I just tell people if you're following the group, then you're going to get the best opportunity to be able to find out about that. And usually I do recap teasers here on the PCDIY live stream when we do have something to tease out. So right now, nothing new, but maybe in the not too distant future. I mean, I'll tell you, some of you might be surprised. ASUS's product portfolio is so big. We actually have something that's called the MPI internally. It's the new product introduction. Just about literally every week, we introduce new products. That's how big our product portfolio is when you cover everything from monitors to peripherals to motherboards to graphics cards to routers to wireless accessories to display devices. There's so many different products that literally there's not a week that goes by that we're generally not releasing a new product. Now the extent to that, it could be small or it could be large. It depends. Sometimes the light week might be 2 to 3 products like it was like this week. And then other times it could be literally 10, 20, 30 products. So, that's why we have the weekly PCDIY live stream. All right. So see any other questions right there? Hey, and sorry, not sure how to pronounce your name, but no updates yet on the ROG Shock'em X. Hopefully in the not too distant future, we'll have some updates on it. Probably going to be looking towards the very end of Q1, early Q2 timeframe in terms of that price point. Okay. Hey, William. Fantastic. Thanks for joining us here in the stream, man. And very cool that I was able to actually meet with you at QuakeCon. Yeah, it's been quite some time since I've been able to head over to a QuakeCon, but it was a great experience being able to go have some great face-to-face with individuals like yourself, man. So hopefully you're doing well. Stay safe, stay healthy. All right, so let's go ahead and keep moving things along here. I think we are good to go in terms of all our product availability updates. We got our Linus meme covered there. We do have a couple of promos, guys, that I will go ahead and drop in the chat for you guys on the monitor side. So that is going to, let me see here. We've got the VG27AQL1A, which is great. $50 promo right now. It ends Sunday. So that is going to be a great option there if you want to be able to pick up a monitor. And then we also got the PA32, yeah, excuse me, the PA238 CGV, which is also $50 off. So let me go ahead and see if I can get those direct links for you right there. And that's a very solid monitor. It's a high refresh rate, 2560 by 1440, 170 hertz. So if you guys are looking for some monitor options, I will make sure to go ahead and drop those in the chat. But I'm really a big fan of this one. I think the VG27AQ01A is going to be a very solid choice for you guys that might be looking for an upgrade. I will recap this for you right here before we get ready to jump into our ASUS PCDIY Builder Spotlight. But you'll see this is a 27-inch 1440p monitor, IPS-based display, 170 hertz refresh rate, ELMB sync, which means that, of course, we can do our backlight strobing at the same time as adaptive sync, which is great. And then you have a well-saturated color in terms of the overall sRGB coverage. So it's going to be a nice punchy display. This also has, I remember, a higher peak brightness. Yes, 400 nits. So this is actually a bit brighter than your traditional monitors. If you haven't kind of upgraded your monitor in quite some time, it could be that your actually monitor might only be around 200, 250 nits. So having a monitor that goes up to 300, 400 nits, it does offer a nice bit more punch and kind of dynamic range. And, you know, that just gives your kind of images and kind of gameplay experience a little bit more of I'd say a punchy experience. So I do definitely like seeing displays that are in that 300 to 400 nit category, even when you're only kind of working in that standard sRGB color space. So very, very nice right there. And like I said, that is right now with that promo, I think a very nice pickup right there. So I will make sure to go ahead and double check to drop those links in the description and in the chat if anybody else has that. But with that, I think we're going to get ready here to jump into the ASUS PCDIY Builders Spotlight. So as always, if those of you are not aware, the ASUS PCDIY Builder Spotlight is all about highlighting your PC builds, whether they're mini ITX, the ATX, air-cooled to water-cooled, it doesn't matter. We love talking about them, whether you're a first-time builder or whether you're somebody that's built 20 systems, you can submit your systems. I'm always excited to really be able to kind of take a look at the breadth and depth of what I see the community puts together. Some really stunning and amazing builds. And definitely this week, again, we've got some fantastic builds to be able to show off. So let's get ready to jump into it here. And again, if anybody has any questions regarding any products, features, functionality, feel free to go ahead and drop them in there in the chat while we are running through this. And I will still do my best to go ahead and check out those questions and answer them for you. Okay, so no worries in that regard. Let's see who we've got first up here in terms of the stream. So I think first up is going to be Wintendo from Eduardo. All right, so let's see here. We got Wintendo. I think this is going to be a pretty cool, interesting build here. And let's see what's going here. Let me see right there. Well, hold on. Before I've got one question right there. Connecting a monitor to USB-C with display support goes through the South Bridge. I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to ask there. When you're utilizing USB-C, it depends on the implementation, right? So most monitors, if the monitor has a USB-C connection, it will usually give you a USB-C to USB-C cable. But in those situations, most of the time that USB-C cable, when it goes directly to USB-C, is designed to probably be connected to a laptop, not to a motherboard, because most motherboards don't have a display output for USB-C built onto the motherboard. So in that situation, your USB-C port that's on the display generally is going to support what's called USB-C Alt, which would be Alt DP mode, which would essentially be DisplayPort. So what you would actually need to get is a USB-C to traditional DisplayPort cable, and then that would run to then the DisplayPort on your graphics card. That is the kind of the normal traditional configuration. Now, some motherboards that might feature a Thunderbolt connection or have a USB-C port that has integrated display output would then be able to go with that native USB-C to USB-C connection. But in most situations, there's no actually South bridge that's involved because the PCI Express lane and the management is provided directly from the CPU routing. Now, as far as how that might affect bus assignments, that all depends on kind of how you have different things set up in terms of, you know, the number of expansion slots that are utilized and things along those lines. So you would want to check your manual. But you generally wouldn't use a USB-C to USB-C cable if the monitor does support USB-C. That's traditionally more for laptops. Again, you would use a USB-C to DisplayPort cable for a traditional desktop PC. All right. And like I said, the exception of that probably being Thunderbolt. All right. Hey, John, this is a mic that's no longer available. It's actually the ROG Magnus. It was a microphone that we came out with a few years back. It's a very cool design. It had like environmental noise canceling, a USB hub that was built into it, multi-cardioid pattern design. I really loved it, but it is no longer in active production. So it's a little bit of a I guess, you know, rare item now. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the Wintendo build. All right. So let's see. First and foremost, we got a very cool, clean setup. I'm liking this. This is really nicely done. He's got actually a corner desk, actually very similar to kind of my setup here. So we've got the ROG Throne, got a Delta headset. He's got the Flare, the original Flare keyboard right here. Baltius, which is a hard surface gaming mouse pad. And then he's got the Chakram. And then he also looks like he's got the Gladius there too, along with an ROG Swift monitor and the Helios. So he is rocking definitely an ROG setup right here. Very clean, very nicely done. I'm digging, of course, the cyberpunk kind of synthwave vibes that he's got there in terms of the color scheme. So that's very nicely done. Let's see what we got here. Oh, we got day and night vibes. Of course, the night vibes takes it to the next level because you just have that nice little bit of the field lighting right there. So that looks really good. He's even got the ROG Chariot right there. So very, very cool. And let's go ahead and take a closer look at his rig right here. So this is pretty sweet. He's got the Helios here. He added an LED strip. This is not a bad choice to give yourself a little bit of fill lighting. The only disadvantage is maybe I would spend a little bit of time to kind of get that a little bit more flush. Some people like the hard LED lighting. I prefer a more diffuse path. So I might maybe flip it to get maybe the lighting to actually go downward, or maybe put a diffusion strip on it, or maybe change that out. But sometimes this can still look good. And this, a lot of this time depends on the angle. You know, if you don't see it, you won't actually notice that. And again, you still have very clean and well laid out design right here. So we've got an ROG Strix card in there. Very nice clean cable management. You've run everything really cleanly, well done throughout the chassis right there. You've added in this chassis doesn't come with an RGB fan in the back, so you did add this right here. And then you've got the Ryogen 2 cooler. This is the 360 edition right there. I do like your color gradient right here, where you went and customized the RGB lighting in here, so you're not running like in a rainbow mode or something like that. You went in and kind of purposely pick things out. And then you've got, of course, your stat display with the Ryogen. This is really nice. It's clean. It's well done. You've also got a Thor in there, so thanks for having a Thor. This is my kind of build. Simple, clean, well done, nice color theme. Really nothing to complain about. Let's go ahead and let me bring up your submission form, and we'll see more of the details regarding your system here. So give me 1 second here, and I want to bring back up your system here so we can still kind of take a look at it right there. Okay, so let's see. For Eduardo, this is going to be not his first build. Does it have a theme? RGB lighting was overall a theme. 3 words to describe the build. When he just put ASUS. Does it have a name? Wintendo. So let's see. He does actually have a part configuration list here. So this is running a Ryzen 9 5900X. I was right with the Ryogen 2 360. He's running a Crosshair 8 formula. He's got looks like 16 gigabytes of memory. He's running a bit higher frequency memory, so 4266 CL17. So that's a pretty nice kit of memory there. Interesting to know how he might be running that in terms of his Infinity Fabric. He's got 1 terabyte M.2 SSD, an ROG Strix 3090 graphics card. He's also got that Helios 1200 watt power supply, definitely more than he needs. And then he's got the XG279Q 1440p 170 hertz ROG monitor. Overall, a very, very nice setup in terms of your kind of core components. About $5,000 for the total cost there of the build. He's just a big fan of ASUS and ROG. Nothing that he would change about his build. With definitely the hardware you have in there, I don't expect he would change it. That's pretty much all top-end hardware. It's a great experience for pretty much anything: productivity, content creation, or gaming. Took him about a year to be able to get everything all together. Pretty much just uses the systems just for gaming, and he loves all kinds of the features and functions on our system. So from the hardware design to the UEFI to our software suite, he really actually likes all of it. So man, kudo, Eduardo, nice, clean, well done. It's a well done build, man. So you get a solid thumbs up from me. This case right here, in case you're wondering out, this is the ROG Helios. So we do actually make this chassis in black, and we also make it in kind of in a white silver finish. So you can get it in two different versions. So it's quite popular for ROG enthusiasts. You'll also see that kind of one of the hallmarks right here of the Helios. You won't see it here at the top, but it's got a lot of front USB connectivity. So 4 USB ports that have to be wired into 2 front USB 3 headers and a USB Type-C port. And it's got this really cool, what we call textured ROG finish that's a part of the tempered glass panel. Now, he added RGB fans. I'm always torn. I actually personally like the Helios without the RGB fans, but his design and setup, I think, comes out really well still with the RGB fans in there. The theme ties well. So kudos, Dan. Overall, very nice build. Nicely done. So let's go ahead and take a look here at our next build. And actually, before we get to our next one, let me just see if we have any questions here. Is it mid tower or full tower? So it actually depends. You'll find that there are actually, quote unquote, some mid towers that can readily support an eATX chassis. So just because you have a mid tower doesn't mean that you can't actually support an eATX chassis. I will say actually the trend over most chassis designs over the last few years has been to actually generally accommodate not only ATX but also eATX. The bigger thing that you have to actually account for is the total kind of clearance that you might have for other items that you might install, whether it be from kind of a graphics card or the radiator in different positions and things like that as you go to more kind of compact mid towers. Okay. Yes, it does have super comfortable handles, and especially because the Helios is also a fairly heavy chassis, it does definitely make it easier to be able to kind of adjust. For the cooler, no plans for the Ryogen 2 right now for white, but we do offer the ROG Strix LC 2 in white. I think I've shown this off before. Let me see if I have it here. Oh, yes, I do have it. Yeah, so we do have the ROG Strix LC 2 and white. So we do have this one if you do want to have an ROG cooler in white. Okay. So see any other questions there before we get over to our next build? All right, so let's go ahead and head over to our next build. Next up, we're gonna go with No Name for the build, and it's by Chris. Chris is a great member of our community, so he's got a cool build. I think it's a TUF Gaming based build, if I remember. So let me go ahead and see if I can get that loaded up right there. And I want to also get his submission form up here. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is going to be Chris's build and setup here. So we've got a cool setup right here. He's got his gaming chair. He's got his peripherals. He's got TUF Gaming keyboard and mouse, and actually TUF Gaming mouse pad. That's pretty cool. And then from there, you got his system that's there in the back, along with his monitors. He's got his speakers. He's got a little group right there. That's cool. Nice, clean, simple setup. Well done. All right, so he is rocking. We can already tell this is a TUF Gaming GT501. So this is our larger chassis as opposed to the more compact GT301. So great for water cooled builds or for people that just want more room for kind of more flexibility for more mounting configurations. The overall kind of design and setup. He went with a vertical mount. As many viewers know, I'm generally always not a fan of vertical mounts. I think that they cut off a little bit of the design aesthetic on the motherboard, but this is a very clean and well done implementation. And the cool thing is that with the TUF Gaming hardware is that they do kind of have a very kind of similar or synergistic kind of design. So there is a kind of continuity that I do think still maintains kind of the look and feel of the system. And the TUF cards look cool along with the ROG Strix cards. So you still get a great stylized aesthetic right here. I do like the look of that side profile, and I like to see that bottom PCH logo exposed, but it's still very nice. No complaints right there as far as the overall fit and finish. Very cleanly done. Really kind of well laid out. He's got a little bit of that Guardians of the Galaxy kind of theme going on there. He's got his AIO mounted up there at the top. I like that. Back mounted, of course, RGB fan, and then his Delta R Team Force dims. I love those dims. And then he's got some nice diffuse LED strips. And this goes back to what we saw previously. Here you can see the LED strips that are directly exposed, but these are diffused. Are these actually, I wonder if these are not strips, but these are tubes. Interesting. I'll try to see if I can find that in the notes. But overall, very nicely done. Here he gives us another little of an angle, a little bit more with that white color play. That looks cool. It's nice, clean, well done. Nothing to complain about. Very cool setup. And I think, very nice build. So let's go ahead and take a look here and see what we've got in terms of his notes for his submission. So let's see here. This was Chris's original first build right here. Let's see. Does your build have a theme? It almost changes weekly. So PC addiction is a real thing. 3 words to describe the build would be my financial mistake. Does the build have a name? Not as of yet. So in terms of his core components, he's really hitting that sweet spot in terms of trying to get, I think, great performance without necessarily, quote unquote, breaking the bank, right? Ryzen 5 3600, so very solid CPU part right there with a B550 plus a TUF Gaming board, 16 gigabytes of memory, 3600 megahertz, a 1 terabyte SN550. That's a perfect drive, very, very good drive for its price point. Then a 360 millimeter AIO. To be honest, probably got way more AIO than you need in terms of that. You could really be actually, with the 3600, you could have just literally gone with a good quality tower heatsink or 240. But 360 definitely is going to give you a huge amount of room to be able to, push the CPU as much as possible, keep it very cool. And of course, you can keep that, even that high performance CPU, even if you were to upgrade to, maybe a higher end Ryzen, higher end Ryzen 5000 series part maybe later in the future, right? He's got a TUF Gaming RTX 3060 in there. He went with the Fantex vertical GPU bracket in there, GT501, and then 6 of the SP120 Corsair fans. Those are all connected into Commander Core in terms of the controller. And then, I was right on the keyboard, K5, P3 mouse, and that rounds out his setup. About $1,500 turned it to $2,000, and it's now about overall $2,500 all in terms of probably, I think that accounts for probably everything in terms of all his hardware, including his peripherals. What is he most proud of? The fact that he accomplished it by himself with pretty much only YouTube as his guide, man. Big kudos. It's always fantastic to be able to see people that have taken their time to be part of a community, watch the content that's out there, and be able to jump into the PCDIY experience and get their system up and running, man. So fantastic you've been able to put together the system. It looks great. It's clean. It's well polished. It's functional. And I like the idea. I like the overall aesthetic. So it works well in that regard. He'd like to maybe upgrade the GPU in terms of an upgrade, maybe from something above a 3060. Hopefully if he can, find a GPU part at a reasonable price. And he's also maybe looking at making that jump to a wireless keyboard and mouse. Okay. Took him about 2 days to overall get everything up together. And he's currently playing Red Dead Redemption, Borderlands, Icarus, and a few other titles. He's working for Tiny Tina Wonderland. I like that. Very good. His overall favorite aspect is the TUF aesthetic. He really likes the kind of the design, the clean, minimal approach, but kind of with that durability emphasis that's present there in terms of the overall ID design. So overall, man, thumbs up, Chris. Solid, nice first build, man. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we got any comments there before we get ready to jump into our next build. I would definitely agree. Very nice. All very nice touches right there. Hey, Andrew. Right now, I don't think we have any shirts that we've had posted on the ASUS eStore, but we might be offering something maybe a little bit later in the future. I have just actually been working with our marketing director. We were expanding some of our internal budget to be able to do some giveaways and some other kind of merch and swag. So if you're part of the PCDIY group, that's going to be the best opportunity for you to be able to get some hopefully cool stuff, whether it's going to be t-shirts or some other things going on. So just make sure to keep it tuned to announcements that we're going to have going on in terms of the group. Okay. Can you orientate the screen? The screen does have a magnetic cover. You can either go vertical or you can go in the horizontal position. You can't freely turn it because it's a square, so it's best designed for either of those orientations, but you can go ahead and either go vertical or you can go horizontal. So you can adjust it in that respect. Okay. All right, very cool. So let's get ready to jump into our next build here. So let me see what we got next. I think next is Bebelabs, I believe. Hopefully I'm saying that right. So next, Bebelabs from Arjhann. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. If not, I apologize. But you've got a fantastic build, man. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. It's very cool. You've definitely kind of taken it to that next level in terms of those RGB vibes. So let's go ahead and get your build up on display here. So let's see what we got going on. Okay, there we go. Perfect. And there we go. All right. So similar here, to the earlier build where we got a Ryujin 2, we got an ROG Strix card in there, ROG Strix motherboard in there. And then we've got, of course, the very, very popular Lian Li 011 chassis in there with, I think, a little bit more of the opened out kind of airflow design here. So we got fans at the bottom, in the rear, and then he's got his rad there at the top. And so overall cool aesthetic. I mean, this is, of course, a very popular chassis, very popular kind of aesthetic that goes on right now. I personally like chassis that have a little bit more of a front facade, so they actually have an ID design in the front. But this is a great chassis for flexibility and configuration and mounting a lot of different options. And it also offers you a lot of clean routing lines because, of course, pretty much everything is going to go in the back, right? So overall, definitely nothing to complain about. It's clean, it's well executed. I do like that you took the time to route the streamer cables up and over. So that gives you that nice full exposed visibility there for the RGB light bar on the ROG Strix card. So kudos to you there. That's nicely done. Got a little bit of an angled shot right there. Very clean job here on these cables. These can sometimes be a little bit tricky to kind of play with. A lot of work that you've gone ahead and done right here. One thing, no, you might want to double check on these cables right here. Make sure that they're fully seated, but otherwise, I think you're very good. No issues right there. Everything looks very tight, very clean. Really good cable management in terms of kind of making things very clean, very tidy. Oh, and I think that they did leave us here with a video, so let's go ahead and take a look here. Pretty cool. Some cool kind of quick cuts and action shots that we've got. I do like the actual color scheme here, where you might think that it's just kind of RGB general kind of rainbow. It is a little bit kind of more varied. There's a little bit kind of more purposeful design in terms of some of his approaches. So I do actually appreciate the choice to go with something a little bit more targeted and specific in terms of the color scheme. So let's go ahead and take a look here and see what his submission form looks like. So give me 1 second, actually. Let me make sure I can bring up his form here. Okay, so got his form here. Let's go ahead and get that in there. Okay, so this is going to be this was actually his first build. Very cool, man. So again, kudos. Great first build. Does he have a theme? No overall theme. RGB is life is 3 words to describe the build. Does the build have a name? Yes. Bebelabs is the name there. We've got an ROG Strix X570F, and an ROG Strix 3080 Ti, and then a Ryujin 2 360. Rounded out, we got some G-Skill RAM that's in there as well. So very nice system. And I believe those are streamer cables. I'm not sure who the manufacturer is. I don't know if those are Landleys or if there's some others, but you can definitely tell those are RGB cables. About $6,000 in terms of the total budget. He's most proud of being able to get that GPU. Nothing that he would change right now as far as the core hardware, which would make sense. It's very high-end specification, so very nice build already. Took him about a week to be able to put it together. Plays a lot of Warzone, Dota 2, God of War, and his favorite feature is Armored Crate in terms of kind of getting all the RGB lighting and management and control, as well as also being able to control and access the Ryujin 2. Overall, man, cool build, clean, well executed, especially for a first-time build. Again, very little to criticize on here. It's nicely done. Hey, Devin, thanks for joining us on the stream. Very cool. The screen is huge. Yes, the screen is definitely, it's 3.5 inches. I think it is still currently the largest display you can get on an AIO. So it is a very large display that's on there. All right, so let me see it here. Okay, very cool. So let's head over to our next builder spotlight. All right, so we've got our next build here. All right. Oh, this is from Kevin of Kevin's build. So Kevin is a great member of our community. He's been actually featured here a couple of times, and you know, he's really kind of near and dear to me in terms of kind of the way that he's approached his PC build, because this kind of harkens back to how I did my PC build, you know, when I was first getting into the scene, and you know, not going into the whole story of how my first system came together, but you know, it was a slow and tedious process. It took me definitely time to be able to get the money together and then be able to get all my hardware together and, you know, build the system out over time, right? And he's been amazing at terms of kind of really wanting to get great quality hardware, been a big fan of ASUS and ROG, and slowly going from one component to another component to another component and making his upgrades, right? And so some of us know that. Some of us can sometimes get all of the hardware at one time, you know, and sometimes other us, it takes a longer period of time. But it's been so cool from him being able to transition from, you know, one stage to another stage to another stage. And I think this right here is kind of the final form where he had been wanting to not only then get I think like a Helios, a new higher end board, but then eventually into custom water cooling. And now this is his custom water cooled build. So I'm really actually excited to be able to showcase his build here. So let me go ahead and load it up, and we will get this build showcase here. So, and he's also got a very cool setup in terms of his overall setup right here. So let's go ahead and take a look right here. So very cool. Right here, where you can first see he's got a ton of ROG hardware right here, where he's got, you know, 4 displays. He's got his peripherals, he's got his Baltius, he's got his mouse, his Helios right there, his ROG laptop, you know, and his ROG Chariot. That's all in there. And he's also even got an ASUS router. So he's got entirely covered right here. This is a huge multi-monitor span, maybe a little bit more so than I would rock. I generally usually favor a traditional 2 kind of monitor-based configuration, but this is a really nicely done setup. It's very clean, great use of space, and his cable management's on point in terms of getting everything super cleanly laid out right here. Got his keyboard and his mouse. He's rocking right here the Claymore 2, which is fantastic. Whereas you can see also he's put the numpad there on the left-hand side, which is the cool feature about the Claymore, where you can detach the numpad. You can put it on the left or the right, or you can remove it altogether. Got the Baltius right here. I think this is the Gladius right there that he has there for the mouse. Could be the Chakra. He's got also the ROG Spotlight right there. He's got his Asus laptop. He's got right here the mouse. This looks like the Spatha. He's also got, he's got the Whetstone. That's my favorite mouse pad that we made, and we don't make it anymore. This is right here, the Helios chassis. So he's got that right there. Now he's also got an RG Rapture right there. So that looks like it's the AXE 11000. He's got his full setup in there right there. He's got his 2.5 gigabit switch in there from ASUS Store also to be able to give him that. And then bam, we've got our setup here with my preference when it comes actually to water cooling, which is soft tubing. I know the trend is hardline, but soft tubing, it's cheaper, it's easier to maintain, it's easier to correct and adjust. And it offers you the same exact performance and it can still look cool. So for me, almost always, I'm going to prefer soft tubing unless you really have a purposeful perspective on what you want to achieve with the hard line. So very cool, nicely done right here. So he's got his setup, classic just mount point right here for that pump and reservoir. Nicely routed in straight into the GPU. Nice simple runs that are clean, effective. I like the black tubing in there. It goes and complements the board, which I believe he's got an Apex board that's running in there. This is going to get you great temperature performance, quiet, solid overclocking headroom. And it really is that great, I think, transition that if you want to get into water cooling, you don't need to go crazy. There's just a few fittings right here, the tubing, the pump, the reservoir, and the blocks. And this is very reasonable in terms of the cost and even the complexity. It's so much easier than getting into a complicated distro plate, multiple blocks and reses, and all so many kind of different things when you go into hardline that I really love this approach. It's simple, it's functional, it's high performant. Great way to be able to implement water cooling, Kevin. And of course, you've got it all in your nice, cool RGB sync right there, looking good. Here we've got without the RGB lights on, very nice, clean, tightly set up there. You can see that Apex board looks great. You've got your, of course, individual comb cables right there. Looks like you also got the DIMM.2 add-in card there for the Apex board, very nicely set up. This is probably almost the exact way that I probably would have run this too. Pretty beefy in here. It actually looks like you got dual rads. So you do definitely are running quite a bit there. Oh yeah, so you can see right here, he's got a rad there and he's got another rad right there. And there a little bit more RGB lighting. Very, very cool. This is a very nice setup. I like this. I like the little, actually, I like the lighting there too, to give it a little bit of kind of RGB vibe along with all the rest of the black. But I like that there's not a super huge amount of RGB lighting. It's kind of just there to add a little bit of kind of detail, but without kind of getting too crazy. Oh, he included the cable management. Nicely done, clean, good use of space. The great thing is with the tinted glass on the Helios, you're not even going to see that when you close that up in there. And this is all nothing you would want to hide anyways, because it's clean and it's well done. The only thing I like sometimes is I like to do individual strands so that I know where my cables are going sometimes to respective devices. But otherwise, nothing to critique on there. It's very clean and it's well done. Overall, great looking setup, man. I love it. Let's bring up your submission form here and we will go through there. So give me 1 second to get your submission form, and we'll also take a look and make sure and see if anybody's got any questions or any comments. What do you guys think of Kevin's build? I think it's pretty cool, actually. So right there, wrong output. There we go. Okay. So looks like we got Kevin in the stream. Hey, Kevin. Yep. Keep things simple. I 100% agree. Yep, definitely EK cooling is definitely solid right there. Let me see there. Looks like we're pretty good. Okay. Hey, Russell, right now we have no plans for an ITX Z690 board with DDR4. We're focusing on DDR5. DDR5 is really, I think, the better option, especially for mini ITX over the long term. It supports higher frequencies, higher densities, especially when you're limited to only 2 DIMMs. And it also really is going to be the best way to be able to maximize the performance when you come to multi-threaded applications for the way that Alder Lake has been designed. So we definitely know that and I'd say that DDR5 is starting to become now more readily available, where you can actually now find it online and in stock. Definitely does have a little bit more of a price premium compared to DDR4, but right now we do not have any plans for a mini ITX DDR4, only DDR5. That would include both the Z690 and B660 boards. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and take a look here at Kevin's form. So let's see. Does the build have a theme? A grand display of ASUS and ROG hardware. My hat's off to you, man. Thank you so much. That's fantastic. Very, very kind of you. 3 words to describe the build: powerful, cool, and colorful. I would definitely agree. The build's name is Zurel. And let's see right here. Core hardware we've got in there. So he's running an 11900K overclocked through ASUS AI overclocking. That's all in a Maximus Z590 Apex board. That's a fantastic combination. You should probably be seeing somewhere between probably with per core overclocking, I'd probably say in that custom water cooling loop, I wouldn't be surprised to be seeing, 5.3, maybe even 5.4. So you're definitely taking a very high level of performance out of that 11900K. He's running 4000 megahertz, 32 gigabytes CL16. So that's great. High speed frequency memory there with tight timings. 3080 Ti water cooled. That's a beastly card to have water cooled. So you're going to have outstanding performance there. 1200 watt power supply with that Helios. He's got a 4 terabyte M.2 SSD, and then a Chakram core, the bulkiest, Claymore 2. Xbox 360 wired controller, definitely agree there. He's got some very nice headphones with the HD 800S. Very great for detail, and for if you're looking for kind of detail and soundstage, it's a fantastic headset. Let's see right here. He's got, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 ROG monitors. That one with the primary at 240 hertz, 1440p, and then the rest at 1440p, 144 hertz. And then that ROG Chariot, and then that GT AXE 11000. So absolutely just fantastic setup and hardware. And again, for those of you who missed it, we can go back here to show off his kind of whole setup vibe that we've got right there. So that's his whole setup. So let's see here. Overall budget of the system, about $6,500 spent over the course of a year. He's most proud of now finally getting his full custom EK water cooling setup completed. So with those blocks, the pump in the reservoir, and of course the GPU block there as well. Anything that he would change, maybe looking about getting an ROG Arion 10G Express add-in card, which would make sense because, of course, the way that he's got his networking configuration, he is actually doing high-speed networking. So I know he's already taking advantage of 2.5 gig networking. So maybe even looking to step up to a router that has 10G networking. Pretty interesting. You must be swapping some files there back and forth. About 24 hours to be able to get everything all together, including the leak testing. He's hardcore gaming, Halo Infinite, New World, PUBG, StarCraft 2. Nice set of games. And he's a big fan of ASUS Aura Sync in terms of just the feature set to be able to easily synchronize and control all his hardware. Kevin, hats off again, man, to your entire setup, your commitment to be able to put together a really awesome looking build and system, and clean and well executed. Definitely my kind of build, man. Kudos. All right, so let's go ahead and see what's up next here. So all right, so next up, we are going to go ahead and take a look at one of my absolute favorite builds that I've seen in quite some time, and that's going to be the Intel Wafer Box by Mod and Cafe by Nguyen. This build, the kind of the creativity and the commitment to be able to kind of go in and be able to do some, I think, really, really creative approaches to kind of the fabrication and being able to think about kind of how this all laid out was just a really kind of big undertaking that just it really impressed me. The time, the effort, the commitment that kind of went together in terms of putting together this build. So let's go ahead and show this off here. So this is the Wafer Box. So the really cool thing is that this was all inspired right here by the actual box that he got the CPU in. And so when he saw this, he essentially wanted to manifest this. He wanted to replicate this in a PC-based design. And that's actually what you have right here, is being able to kind of combine them all together to be able to still maintain kind of the same silhouette, the design, the color scheme, and even so many subtle elements where like the wafer is resting on this actually little stand, but then this was even 3D printed to be able to do the same thing. So to be able to simulate almost kind of a juxtaposed larger version, right? But still that kind of had that symmetry and that cohesiveness and consistency. It was beautifully done. This is just a fantastic build. So there's some really, really nice touches that we're going to go in here that we'll see right here. So here you can see this is all cut out of titanium, and then there's anodization, absolutely just premium materials. And credit where credit's due. I'm not somebody that does metalworking, but I know about the complexity of working with different types of metals, and titanium is definitely a more challenging metal than working with, let's say, steel or aluminum. So the commitment to be able to use some really premium materials to kind of just even have the look feel that he wanted to achieve. Credit goes where credit's due. And just look at these just beautiful accents and touches. So when you just look throughout this, this is all beautifully done. The entire cooling system is down here at the bottom along with this cool display, but let's go ahead and keep going in. So you can see these really nice touches, beautiful hardline build in here to be able to tie in, right? This nice customized actually acrylic display that he's got in there, then the mini ITX board, the memory, right? All just looking fantastic. Here is that separate angle, and I love just the way that this looks. It all sits in there so cleanly done, so well managed, right? The cable work that's in there too, top notch in terms of being very nicely done, in terms of being very efficient and effective. You get nice and tight in there. You can see the beautiful bits power hardware that we've got in there. That nice, just subtle lighting, which complements the rest of the color scheme with the gold and the black on there. The Strix board is nicely visible, which is a rarity so many times with a mini ITX based build. You just don't see the board, right? So this is just fantastic. You then go to the back right here. You can see a little bit more. And then now if we take a closer look at the inside, here you can see the beautiful work. This is all custom right here, where he, of course, machined this out, cut this out, and then, of course, routed this all into essentially an integrated plate. And then that goes down into the bottom of the reservoir tray, which actually has the radiator and the cooling hardware all inside there. So the tubing, when I show you some inside shots, is pretty crazy. That all goes down into here. So he hides everything supremely well in here. So let's go ahead and let me actually bring up. Now he's got a great video, and I will link the video in the chat because I want everybody to be able to actually see the video that he's got online for this. But I've got some frame grabs right here that I want to be able to pull up and show just some of the amazing work that went into this. That kind of just shows what we have here. So here you can see, here's some of the frame grabs. So here's just some of the fitment that's being done. This is actually a full 3D printed out, essentially kind of podium that everything sits on, right? And there you can see the two massive radiators along with the fans, right? Also, hats off to somebody that knows premium high quality tools. We've got Weir right here, fantastic tools right here. Attention to detail. He's even using a torque, a calibrated actually torque screwdriver, which is very, very nice, to be very precise. You can just see here is an actual kind of exploded view of this whole work, right? So you can see all the different pieces coming together. So down here from the base, he's got then the radiators, the fans, then here's the actual base mounting, the actual podium that holds everything in place. You can see the pump, the acrylic display, more supplemental fans, all of this kind of coming together, right? It's just stunning. There's, of course, the board that he's using, getting this all the individual pieces together right here. And just stunning work. It's definitely, for me, one of the best mod builds I've seen in definitely a number of years. And it really shows a commitment to detail to be able to take that idea, get it all created in kind of 3D, get it in CAD, getting it machined out, and then putting it all together. Fantastic. Here you can, of course, see the GPU, which you don't actually see because of the rest of the display, but just showing you that everything in there is also tightly and cleanly integrated, right? It's just beautifully done. So overall, man, kudos to this build. It's definitely one of my favorite builds that I've seen in quite some time, and I think it's a great showcase in terms of just showing the creativity, the ingenuity, skill, and expertise that the PC DIY community has to afford. And I believe this was featured in Intel's launch for the actual Alder Lake platform as part of some of the systems that were displayed there. But overall, very, very cool, man. Hats off, man. It's a fantastic build. So very, very cool. I don't have a submission form for him. I did get him to say that he was great in terms of being able to show this off on the stream. So kudos, man. And let me make sure to go ahead and share that video there in the chat. So if anybody wants to check that out, they can check it out. Yes, Mike. This was actually a sponsored. It was a sponsored build. Hey, Daniel, the BOA that I was talking about earlier, it was actually the TUF Gaming B550 Pro. The TUF Gaming B550 Plus Wi-Fi is already available right now. So the Pro will be coming out a little bit later, but the Plus is already available right now. Definitely would agree. Very impressive, right? So overall, for me, definitely one of my absolute favorite builds that I've seen. So let's go ahead and keep moving this along here. And we get to our next build. All right. So let's see here. We're going to go over with Stanley's Dreams build. So let's go ahead and get this loaded up here. Definitely Stanley had a very cool and distinctive theme here. Definitely when you see his build, you're going to know it. Actually, hold on. Let me edit that because it's actually Dreams. Apologies there, Stanley. All right. And I will get your submission form up right there. All right, great. So here we've got Stanley's build, and we've got a custom cooled, water cooled setup right here. Some really interesting design choices right here. So we got a vertical block. We can see that we've actually got an extreme board in here. Some really interesting setup here in terms of the hard line, right? Then we've got your RGB course cables in here. And then we've got the distro along with the color scheme, and this is very distinct. And then of course this large, just customizable display which you have in here. So this is pretty wild. Very, very interesting. Very different kind of approach to what you would see within the traditional build. This is really cool. I think I like it more in the dual color scheme, so having like a little bit in the purple here and then having the white and then purple there to be able to kind of give it a little bit of contrast to the different zones to be able to see what you're going on here. I really do like this. This is a really cool way to approach the, of course, hardline integration, which you don't normally see this type of approach, I'd say, being implemented. It's pretty cool. And so here we can see a closer look. And here you actually can see the extent of the water cooling that's going on. So we've got water cooling for the GPU block, for the CPU. You can actually see water cooled RAM. That's a rarity in most systems. It's definitely not a requirement, but it's a rarity. Really nice tight cable management right here for that EPS power connectors right there. But you can see hardline right there, hardline right there, hardline right there. Then your line that comes in really nicely and tight right there, going into that vertical mount right there for the GPU. All those cables very cleanly managed. And then all the work right here, massive distro plate. And then, of course, all your fans down right there. And then, of course, I believe that is fitting right there along with a flow monitor. So pretty crazy setup. And then, bam, you see it all kind of come together there with also the display. This is very cool. It's very different. The only bummer that you have with the vertical GPU, and I think this might have actually been where I would have loved it to be horizontal, is you miss out a little bit on the live dash display. So I believe he's got the same board that I'm running right here. So you miss out on this beautiful ROG kind of logo design right here and this actual display, which I don't have on right now, that you could have seen. But the block looks great. So, you know, that's a balancing act of kind of how you want to approach things, really. But overall, very, very cool build. A lot of time and effort right here. What do you guys think? What do you think of Stanley's build right here, his dreams build? So let me go ahead and bring up his submission form. So give me 1 second here. Got his submission form and get his build up there. Hey, Bluegate, we don't talk about anything that may or may not be under essentially kind of design and development and definitely under NDA. Rest assured, when we have the ability to be able to talk about anything that might be in terms of forthcoming from the motherboard side in terms of new chipsets, then they will definitely be posted about and talked about for sure here on the PCDIY stream, as well as within the PCDIY group, okay? Okay, so let me go ahead and bring up his submission form and let's see what we got going on right here. So this is going to be from Stanley. Not his first build. It wasn't a sponsored build. Does his build have a theme? So full view, no blockage on the internal monitors, minimalist minimum tubing, a different layout as compared to other Core P8 cases. And the hardest part was installing two 480 60 millimeter thick rads, which definitely, those are massive radiators. So definitely more than you need, but the benefit, of course, with going with those large, big radiators is you got, of course, a lot of that displacement there. So you should be able to pretty much run those fans at very, very low RPM. So while you might think there's a lot of fans in there, this system should be almost effectively inaudible, should be extremely quiet. So it shouldn't be very hard, although it is always a little bit of a challenge too when you have very thick rads at the amount of static pressure that you need to push through the airflow there. But natively with just good performing blocks and good flow, you should be able to bring that into the radiators to be able to go ahead and get some good thermal dissipation in place. So 3 words to describe the build: full view, minimalist, and tricky. The name of his build is Dreams. He's got a Maximus Extreme Z690 board, 12900K, a 3080 Ti, 32 gigabytes of DDR5 memory, 5200 megahertz, 2 980 M.2s, and then those 480 thick rads, 3 DDC pumps, and then he's got the LCD block, the RAM block, and the GPU block. $9,000 for this build. This is an impressive high-end water-cooled build. And I will say, the cleanliness at the amount of kind of what you have going on is very, very impressive, especially with pretty much you only see just those 3 tubes right there at the top, right? So you do get to see a lot of visibility of all your core hardware, right? Without really having too much of an obstruction. He's most proud of actually being able to achieve that in terms of full view, in terms of the internal monitor and a different layout case. Nothing that he would change at the moment. In terms of the build, about 2 months to put it all together, playing Valorant and God of War. And his overall favorite feature for this system is going to be the ASUS Armoury Crate software in terms of the RGB lighting and kind of control that he has for being able to synchronize all of that. Stanley, it's a very cool build, man. It's definitely different, and I give you a lot of credit. Working within a big chassis is also very challenging. Some people might think it's easy, but it actually can be sometimes harder because laying out and planning how you work with a really large space can actually be really tricky, so that it looks like it's all been used, it's well balanced, and it's well laid out. So a very, very cool and impressive build. So kudos to you, man. And thanks for being Team RG and for Team Maximus. Hey, Masar, happy to have you here, man. Thanks for joining us for the stream. So thank you so much. All right, so let's get to our next build here. And let me see what we got. So we got Bebelabs, Dreams, Intel Wafer Box, No Name from Chris, Wintendo, Zurel, and we've got 2 more builds. So let's go ahead and go with ROG THOR from Luis, I believe. This is a custom PC build, PC desk build. So these are very interesting always when our community does something like this. So let's go ahead and see what we got here, guys. So here we see a little bit of kind of the system at play. Very cool. Looks like we've got an actual formula board. Very interesting. And of course, this is all laid out flat. You can see your hardline runs right here. It's very interesting. I wonder how much of this is going to be exposed, because if it's not that exposed, of course, you could have gone with soft tubing here, but interesting layout here. So we've got 1 rad, we've got another rad right here, we've got some fans right here, we've got PSU, okay. And it looks like there's also a display right here. Very interesting. Okay, so here it looks like we've got a little bit more of the system set up here. There we can see we've got, okay, front cutout right there for the I/O, and then just, of course, a cutout right there for, of course, the fans. Oh, and there we can see the top right there. Oh, and he's got an ROG, that looks like our ROG desk mount. So you can go ahead and put on one of our ROG compatible monitors and have it clamped to the desk. So that's pretty cool. And then he's got a large accessible kind of window right here, top cover. This is pretty interesting. And then bam. So he's got an ROG ultra wide. Oh, and then cool. Look, he's got a display right there on the top. So that's pretty cool. So, or is that a reflection, or he has an integrated? I'm not sure if that's a reflection or he's got an actually integrated kind of display in there. If that's, It's pretty cool. But then you have a reflection there. So I think this is all the reflection. But then it looks like he's got some LEDs in here. I think I might have maybe tried to go with like a soft diffuse strip if I want to have the accent lighting and recess that in there as opposed to directly seeing those. I feel that's going to be a little bit bright, but very, very cool. This is very creative. Oh, and then we can see it now all actually set up right there. So yeah, that's really cool how it actually reflects right there. And then you got that. So that's about the only thing that maybe I would change up is I think those LED strips, maybe kind of going with something different. I think that breaks up the look a little bit. And I would love to see maybe a little bit more of a balanced diffuse light. But the overall design is very, very cool. And then you can, yeah, you can see a little bit more of that. So there's the final shot. That's a very, very cool setup. This is really, really interesting. So what do you guys think about this? So we went all the way from starting this and then putting it all together. The always interesting thing too, when I see kind of customized things like this is that, you know, a lot of people don't realize that a chassis has to go through EMI compliance testing. So when somebody decides to build their own, there's always a little bit of a risk at how much EMI and ESD that you might have to challenge that you're not accounting for that would help to be more managed a little bit more effectively in a standard chassis. Although even with that being noted, a lot of open panel chassis and tempered glass chassis actually have lower EMI ratings than fully sealed chassis. So it is what it is. But this is pretty cool. This is pretty different. It's different, man. Kudos, Luis. Yeah, this is definitely, you can see that there's been a lot of time and work and effort that's been put into this. Let me go ahead and bring up his submission form because I'd love to see a little bit more of kind of the details right here, how this all kind of came together. So let's see here. Okay, so not his first build. Wasn't sponsored. Does the build have a theme? Just the desk theme, ROG Strix and Corsair. What are 3 words to describe your build? Is unique, I believe unique, thoughtful, and rugged. The name, yes, RG Sawar. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. In terms of the core hardware right here, we can see that we've got an ROG Strix, excuse me, it's not an ROG Strix, it would just be an actually ROG Maximus Formula Z690 board, a 12900K, an ROG Strix 3080 Ti. He's got 32 gigabytes of G-Skill memory that's in there. 1000-watt PSU running that, and that's all pretty much cooled by Corsair water cooling hardware. So XD5 pump, XG7 GPU block, and then XC7 RGB block for the CPU, and then hardline tubing. That's all managed then through a Corsair Lighting Node Pro. About $5,000 for the overall budget. What aspect is he most proud of is the TV screen in the center of the desk. So that's actually what you're seeing right there. So that's very, very interesting. Okay. Is there anything that you would like to change about the build? The height of the desk. Yeah, definitely. I would say that height is one of those things a lot of people don't account for. Depending on your height and your ergonomics, you definitely want to try to manage that really well, especially if you're going to be sitting down to it in gaming, right? How long did it take to put together the system? About 4 months, especially because it took him a lot of time to be able to get his DDR5. He uses it for gaming, so Destiny, Mass Effect, Cyberpunk. He loves his RG 3080 Ti water cooled. And overall, man, Luis, kudos to you, man. Some definite time and effort went into this. It's definitely unique and it's definitely distinctive. And it's definitely cool to be able to integrate that screen that's in there. So very cool job, man. Kudos to you. Thumbs up. Thanks for being, man. Team ROG and Team Maximus. All right. So I think we've got one last build here before we wrap up our builder spotlight. So let's go ahead and see what we got here. Yes, we've got Zeus from the guys over at Overchilled PCs. So if you guys don't know about Overchilled PCs, definitely one of the absolute kind of best builders and modders out there. They really have, I think, an extreme passion and commitment to really be able to do things in a really interesting and distinctive way when it comes to the overall designs and the aesthetic that they have for their boards, excuse me, for their mods and for their builds. So very cool. And again, if anybody's got any kind of questions, comments on anything that I haven't gone ahead and covered, feel free to go ahead and drop them and I'll see if I go ahead and answer them after our last feature spotlight right here. So let's go ahead and take a look at Zeus. So first and foremost, you can see that we've got a glacial board, and wow, this is pretty insane. So we can see that we've got some type of wrap or some type of kind of custom uh, cover that has been put onto the glacial. So the glacial looks absolutely stunning by itself. But I think this is really cool to be able to kind of use this as a surface to be able to extend the overall look and feel of the way a system is defined. And this is a bold choice. This is a creative choice that I actually applaud, a builder taking to be able to kind of have a different look and feel, right? That applies for the system. So let me actually show you guys here just to see. So you can see this is what a kind of would look like um, without a cover. So here you can see, right, here's a glacial board, right, which looks fantastic already. And of course, if you check out some of the recent streams like we did last week, where we had some builds shown off by Titan Rig and also by Snef, who've shown off some amazing work with the glacial, right? I just kind of want to show without it, but I love that you went and you used this surface as a space to be able to play with here. Oh, okay. So here we can see now we've got the whole chassis. Beautiful work right here. This is just looks fantastic. I absolutely love this. The artwork and just kind of how it all ties through. So everything here from the external side of the chassis to the side panel to even leaving the actual fans there with no fan blades, right? Because I feel like adding actually fan grills, excuse me, having fan grills there would almost obstruct the aesthetic that you would want. So again, purposeful design choices, right? This is just brilliant. Oh, and then here we can see we've got, of course, the classic kind of Greek Zeus kind of aesthetic right here at the very front. And this is just all beautifully done on this in-wind chassis right here. This just looks fantastic. And there you guys go. This is just, wow. This is some next level work right here. The time, effort, and commitment is just pretty crazy right here. What we're seeing. So here again, we can see there's the glacial board. We've got these beautiful hardline runs that are coming down from it. Then we've got the horizontally mounted GPU. Then we've got some more runs right here that are all beautifully executed down here into what looks like some type of probably custom distro plate that's down here at the bottom, and then another hardline tube. And I love that we have some color play going on here with the chrome, and then we also have here probably translucent. I don't know if the actual tubing itself has a color or if this is actually the color of the coolant that's in there. But I love this color scheme to be able to kind of play around with the textures and colors, because this creates contrast, but then this is complementary to the actual white that you see speckled throughout kind of the kind of the marble, right? That you have in the actual chassis, right? So beautiful, beautiful work here. And just look at this. This is just the work here and the attention to detail, just how cleanly and nicely done it is. This is all just so well executed. Oh, and this is the type of stuff like when I saw their Venom mod. Look at all that. This is almost lost there in the background, right? All the actual the hieroglyphs or the writing right here, right? That's beautifully just inserted in there to just add another layer right into that. And there we go. Now with it lit up. And I love this. Nice, beautiful, purposeful decisions, right? Where you have nice visibility steer here and have a little bit of that core hardware down with the PCH, the ROG then right here in terms of the actual large portion of the Uber block, the dim.2, which looks beautifully installed in there in the G-Skill dims, right? A nice little then display right there. This is just stunning work. It's stunning. Oh, now there you can definitely see this actually much more clearly there. This is definitely ranks up there with this is a true masterclass build. Stunning work, guys. So let's go ahead and I don't even know. I actually the lighting looks cool, and I'd love to see it with different kind of lighting themes, but I think I might even like it more without the lighting turned on, but I don't know. That's kind of one of those things I'd love to be able to, you just can turn it on and you can turn it off, right? The choice is up to you. But stunning work here. So let's go ahead and bring up the submission form and just see what we've got right here from the guys over at at Overchilled PC Builds. Okay, so we got submission form here. Okay, very cool. And let's see here. Okay. So let me see right here. So this is by the Overchilled PC Builds team. It's not their course first build. It's not a sponsored build. The build is called Zeus, after the ancient Greek god. We incorporated a lot of artistic details of the ancient Greek era into this build with a few modernized touches. 3 words to describe the build: unique, eye-catching, and immaculate. I think those are all great ways to describe this build. It's definitively unique. It is 100% eye-catching. You look at this and you just have to stop and you just kind of got to appreciate all the time, the work, and the effort that's gone into this unique styling. And it is immaculate in terms of just the fit and finish. It's great. Does the build have a name? Zeus. Let's see in terms of core hardware what we're dealing with here. So we have some pretty nice hardware that's on in the system. So let me see here. It's 10900K, and this is running on the original Maximus Extreme Glacial board, so the Z590 version. It's got, let's see, some G-Skill RGB memory that you can see in there. We've got an ROG Strix 3090 card that's in there, a white edition card, but of course it's no longer white because it had to have the water block put on it. 8 terabyte M.2 SSD in there from SaberNet. And then we got another 980 M.2 SSD, and then we also have a 12 terabyte WD Gold hard drive in there. That's all powered by a 1000 watt Seasonic power supply. That's all in a customized, of course, in-win chassis, the 925. He's got Lian Li Bora fans that are in there, 9 of them. And then pretty much EK water cooling across the board there. So we got an EK block for the GPU, EK for the actual pump and reservoir combo, right, with the Quantum Kinetic FLT DDC. And then we've also got EK reservoir. It's in there in EK fittings. And then the radiator is an RA3 stainless steel. That's beautiful. Yeah, oh, that's beautiful. So fantastic in terms of the overall hardware that we've got in there. About $9,000, the budget right there. What is he most proud of? The mixture between ancient Greek concepts and modern technology. I would 100% agree. Anything you would change? No, there was nothing they would change on the build. It took us 3 months to complete this build. We had typical delays due to the pandemic, and we took our time because we wanted to make sure that it was perfect in every way. And the fit and finish, attention to detail here, guys, hats off, sincerely. A masterclass build. What do you use the system for? It's predominantly for gaming, so Escape from Tarkov, Battlefield 2042, God of War 4, for Forza Horizon 5. All fantastic games right there. What's his overall favorite ASUS feature, function, or kind of core hardware that we've got in there? It has to be the Extreme Glacial line of motherboards. It's overall just an outstanding piece of hardware, and I would agree. The time and work and effort that our R&D team did in there, along with the amazing co-work design that we did with EK, it's truly a stunning board. And the Glacial builds that I've seen have absolutely been stunning. The community, the way that you've responded to the Glacial series has really allowed us to affirm, the commitment to really say that when ROG sets the bar for design, features, functionality, performance, and so much, that the Glacial really is an amazing board that does that. Overall, man, fantastic build. Sorry about that, guys. Just kind of dropped there for a second. Hopefully we're back up there. But overall, fantastic build. I just want to go ahead and quickly recap here the last kind of photos that we've got here for this build, just so that we can go ahead and see exactly what we've got going on there. So again, there we can see the Glacial board. We can see the opposite side, which I think is stunning work right there. And just an overall fantastic build. All right, guys. So that pretty much wraps up our stream here. It looks like everybody thinks that it is definitely a stunning build and positive things to say in terms of everything here. So thank you guys so much for joining us here for the stream. If you guys have any last questions right here, I'm definitely more than willing to go ahead and be able to answer them quickly. If not, we will pretty much get ready to wrap up our stream here. As always, guys, you can make sure to join us back here every Friday for the ASUS PCDIY hardware live stream, where we talk about new hardware, features and functions, demos and overviews, and answer your guys' questions, as well as, of course, the ASUS PCDIY Builder Spotlight. If you're interested in submitting your system, all you got to do is join our PCDIY group and drop your submission form, and you can be featured here on the ASUS PCDIY Builder Spotlight. Let me see if I can go ahead and drop this quickly in the chat. So if anybody does want to go ahead and join the group, they have the link. So I will go ahead and drop that in there right now. And some upcoming streams for you guys. If you guys are interested, we should probably be having next week a B series live stream where we're going to be doing an overview on our B series motherboards with a hands-on little bit of a performance showcase showing your ASUS 8 feature to be able to go ahead and unlock the power limits on essentially your CPUs to be able to get a bit more out of the B series chipset from performance perspective. That's going to be great for something like a 12400 series processor. We're also going to be having some upcoming streams on the Flare 2, where we're going to be doing kind of a hot switch customization. We'll do a deep dive on that keyboard and do a little bit more. And we've also got some upcoming guides that we're going to be diving into, not only for pre-recorded video content for our YouTube channel, but for some other pieces as well. So definitely going to be some busy times coming up over the next couple of weeks, as always. So make sure to keep it tuned to the group to be kind of in the know for all the announcements. So I'm dropping the link there in the chat there. Yep. Sorry, I have gone ahead and dropped the link in the chat right there. And Michael, thanks again so much for joining us for the stream. And thanks for dropping in. Hey, so Geekbench guy, I'll answer this question before we go ahead and drop off. Should we turn off AVX or 512? You don't have any reason to worry about this. The way that actually instruction sets work is that instruction sets are actually going to be utilized when a game or an application runs them. If they're not actually utilized, then they're not affecting you, essentially. The more important thing to keep in mind is that when you're talking about something like AVX, right, is are you limiting your overclock because you're using an AVX load to test with? And so when we actually developed AI overclocking, our most recent versions is that while we actually have an AVX offset built in to be able to bring down the frequency, we don't want to limit the actual headroom of the overclocking support, because we know that under games, you're not actually going to be affected by that. So there's no reason to limit your frequency. So this is actually why you'll see that if you kind of go through your system configuration, you can have 5.3, 5.4, 5.5 gigahertz overclocks, which some people think aren't realistic because it's too hot. It's not too hot because the delta between, let's say, an application that's an AVX-based application as opposed to a game could literally be 40 degrees, sometimes even more than that. So what actually makes more sense is trying to maximize your performance tuning in relation to the workload that you're going to have. Now, if you're somebody that is heavily utilizing AVX workloads, then it makes sense to condition your overclock and your performance parameters to be in alignment with your workload. But if not, then don't worry about it. You can keep them just by defaults and benefit from them when they actually are utilized, because there are subtle frameworks within certain applications and within Windows that can utilize them, and they're only lightly loaded, so they're not actually providing a very heavy load, which would produce a lot of power draw and produce a lot of heat that has to be managed with your system. So I wouldn't actually modify them. I wouldn't make any adjustments to that. I would just say be more sensible about how you approach overclocking in relation to your stress testing. And account for not only stress tests, but also account for realistic workloads. And this is actually something we talk a bit more about in our AIOC overclocking guide, which has been released, and it is on our YouTube channel if you actually want to check it out. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, guys. So with that, take care, take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a good weekend.